Thank you.
Go ahead. Introduce yourself, sir.
I am Andrew Mwenge. I'm senior pastor at Kampala Baptist Church. I'm a father of 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys, and 3 grandchildren. One of my favorite foods is roasted pork.
Roasted pork. Thank you, Pastor. Pastor, introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Larry Pumpelly. My wife Sharon and I lived in Kampala for 17 years, from 1981 until 97. We love Uganda. We were part of Kampala Baptist Church. We're now in Richmond, Virginia, in the U.S. And I guess one of my hobbies is carpentry work, building things.
Wow. Thank you, thank you. And I won't dare call you Pastor. Introduce yourself as well.
So I'm Sharon. You already know that I am his wife. And we have 4 children. We have 5 grandchildren, and recently we had a great-grandchild. And somebody asked me if I was old enough to have a great-grandchild. I said, I don't think my age matters. But what a joy to see another generation. And I love to host people in our home.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. I'm glad to host you today. And today we're going to talk about, the topic is building thriving kingdom marriages. So I'm going to start with Pastor. Please, why do we even have to put the word kingdom before the word marriage? And what do we mean? What do we mean by kingdom marriages? Let's start there.
Really, I didn't come up with that title, but there are many people married in all sorts of ways in our day and time, in some really even weird, evil ways. But really, a marriage that is a kingdom marriage is a marriage where 2 people who love the Lord make a commitment to one another to live together for life. It took the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. Yes.
We, Sharon and I have done marriage in Richmond and pre-marriage counseling for years, more than we like to talk about. But one of the things that we always tell couples that we're working with is that the first step to a real godly marriage is making God the foundation of your life. And not only the foundation of your life, but the foundation of your marriage.
Do you have something to add? You must have something to add. Go ahead.
I do. I think one of the things that needs to happen with each person in this couple is that they really have to love the Lord so much that they want to obey Him in all things. And then they love each other fiercely.
That's yeah. Love the Lord and then love the other fiercely. Well, Pastor, what's the difference between kingdom marriage? Now I'm asking, but it's for the benefit of our audience. There's some people out there who are not Christians and they're watching today, so we need to help them as well. What's the difference between the kingdom marriage and the worldly marriage, so to say? Are there a set of guidelines that distinguish clearly the two?
You know, there are marriages, even by non-Christians, that are fairly decent marriages. But really, the marriage between Christians, 2 people who love the Lord, who believe in our Lord Jesus Christ, who are submitted to Him, that is unique in the sense that it begins with a covenant, making a covenant one with the other, where 2 people vow in a public space to live with one another, to love one another, to do life together, to obey God together for life. That it's unique because you're making a covenant before God. Your ultimate place of accountability is not what just the community thinks or what your parents think. What does really God think about this marriage? Is really your ultimate concern because it's a covenant made in the presence of God.
Andrew has said it well. I think that a couple of things. People need to understand what love really is. And we've got all kinds of wild ideas about what love is. We hear it from our culture, We hear it from media. We hear it from all kinds of different places. But as God describes love, it's really the desire for the very best for the other person, no matter what I get in return. We counsel a lot of people that will come and say, well, if she would just do X, Y, and Z,
Yes.
then we'd all be okay. And that's just not what committed marriage love is about. It's like that agape love that Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians or in Ephesians. It's that commitment to desire the very best for the other person, no matter what I get out of it. We hope we get a lot out of it.
I hope so.
but you know, it's still that desire to keep on going.
Yes. Sure. Please share.
I would say that to be able to keep that marriage really strong, that the couple needs to each pray for the other one every single day. Bring them to the Father every day. And pray for each other every day. And then I think the other part of it is realizing that you are part of marriage to serve one another. It's not for, like Larry says, not for what you get, but if there's a mutual serving of one another and meeting each other's needs, you're going to have a marriage other people want to exemplify.
Could I just have, I think that there's a passage in Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount, which is one of my favorite places in Scripture, where Jesus says, you're the light of the world, and a candle, a light set on a hill, a candle that cannot be extinguished. And I just tell couples, that's what our marriage should be to the community, is that it should be reflecting the image of Christ so much that people are drawn to it. Young people want to come and say, hey, that's the kind of marriage I want.
And it really comes from two people who, as she said, who love the Lord. And if two people love the Lord, and that's a priority in their lives, then it really should be a lot easier to connect with one another. But I think we begin by focusing on ourselves. I think I know that it is important. Christ is an important. Christ being Lord of our lives is key to experiencing the abundance of life. You have many people who are active in church, who are very involved in church, but who have not allowed Christ to be center to their life. And therefore, sometimes you see non-believers experiencing a decent marriage because the guy is not focusing on himself. The guy knows how to be nice to his wife, or the lady knows how to be nice to her husband, and they're able to thrive together, and sometimes do better than guys who are regular in church because they have not applied their lordship of Christ to their marriage.
So if I get all of you right, a godly marriage, kingdom marriage, demonstrates love that is sacrificial. You pray for one another, and you put the other before you, and you really go down to the lordship of Jesus, so that that guides your life as opposed to the worldly marriage. Now I'm going to ask Pastor Larry, what's the most significant challenges that face a kingdom marriage today? In all those years of counseling, what have you experienced as one of those major challenges in kingdom marriages?
Yeah, when we were working here in Kampala for all of those years, I think one of the biggest challenges, I would say, was trying to please the cultural expectations of family, of tribe, and some of those things, as you know, are not very godly. And so I remember we went to Quangela for a very prominent young lady. Her parents, her uncles were all there. They began to argue over buying a goat. Of course, we were new and we didn't understand English very well. I mean, Luganda very well.
Yeah.
They were all doing this in Luganda. Sharon was getting really tired. She said, just tell them I'll buy the goat. And all of a sudden, all of our Christian guys said, no, they're going to take that goat and sacrifice it the day of the wedding for, you know, appeasing all of the ancestors and whatever that does.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't buy the goat.
Did you buy the goat?
I did not buy the goat.
she did not end up buying the goat.
So, go ahead.
Question again.
Challenges that are facing.
Okay. In this city,
Yes.
some of the marriages I'm dealing with, one of the challenges they have is time. A lot of people leave their home. If you live beyond 1 kilometer from the city center, you have to wake up very early to beat the traffic. So you find people leaving their home at 6. I know some people who leave their homes at 6 to get the kids to school, to get to work in time, and then by the time they weave through traffic to get back, you know, these days people stay as far as beyond Gayaza, and they have to come very early and then have to leave the city late, and they're stuck in traffic. The other day I was going to Namugongo in the evening and I was in traffic for a whole hour, and I thought to myself, people who live in Namugongo have to deal with traffic daily. They deal with it in the morning, they deal with it in the evening. By the time they go home, they're tired. In the morning when they're feeling fresh, the girl next to them, or the man next to them, or the lady next to them is not their wife, is not their husband. So the guy is nice actually because it's fresh from at the beginning of the day. When they go back to the guy or the girl, the lady who's their spouse, they are knocked out. And so they are not likely to be the best. And then we have all sorts of family things, weddings and introductions, all sorts of things over the weekends. So you find many couples today just don't have the time to be the couple. And so many conflicts come out of just not having enough time to talk about things that are important in their journey.
Sharon, what are the challenges you've seen in Richmond?
Well, some of the same things about scheduling and being too busy. I think that happens all over the place. But you know, there's another one. I think when we first get married, we're all ready for everything to be great. And then after a while, we realize, I think the beginning of marriage is a good learning time to say how selfish you are. And you know, a little bit of I want what I want rather than I want what we want, or I want what he or she wants. And so I think helping couples really submit that to the Lord, that there's two of us now. You don't make just a decision based on who you are or demand what you want. There has to be some giving. And so that's selfish nature in us, I think, that we have to submit to the Lord to have a good marriage.
I think also the relationship between family. You said something about culture and community, but you know, Genesis 2:24. Therefore, man shall leave his father and mother and shall be united with his wife, and the two shall become one. There is an actual leaving. Some of the counseling situations I've had to deal with, including, in fact, one of them led into divorce. Two people who are believers, and the man just never left. Yes, he's moved to in terms of distance, but every decision is being made by father and his father and mother. And some families have very domineering parents, and that family keeps interfering in this family. They make the decision for this family, and the lady got tired, and so sometimes you have the people who've never left home. This home it has not allowed the new home to start. A common one.
Yes. So there are so many.
Yes, there's so
But
many.
from a kingdom perspective, how can we advise somebody out there watching the show, going through some of the things we've talked about, and how can they maneuver? What do they need to do to maneuver such marriage challenges? And some of them we may not have mentioned them, but they are going through something. Pastor Larry, what would you say?
I think that probably one of the things I would challenge people to do is just to develop a great way of communicating to one another. And of course, like Andrew said, communication takes time. It's not just a text on the phone. You know, we meet couples that all they do is text back and forth all day. And they don't really spend time sitting down, holding hands, looking at each other, reading the Bible together, or whatever they do. And so just good communication. Trying to learn how to communicate when you're angry. And if,
That's a difficult one.
if a couple thinks, oh, we're just so in love, we'll never get angry with each other, they just are not thinking. But when irritation comes, you know, when children come, then all kinds of issues are added to that level of frustration. And so just developing a great way to communicate with each other.
Addition to that, maybe to give it another shade. When I'm doing premarital counseling, one of the questions I ask them: if you found, if your husband throws socks all over the place, how would you talk to them about it?
Can't you see the bin?
Is this where the socks are supposed to be? Now, the common way to communicate is using negative language, because most of us were raised on negative language. Your mother found you left the cup on the table, you would say, is that where the cup is supposed to be? Instead of saying, please take the cup to the sink. And we bring that negative communication in a marriage. If somebody says, is this where socks are supposed to be? What are you supposed to say? Yes, ma'am. Yes, no, ma'am. So usually what happens, if you have been having a nice evening, communication stops there. So be deliberate to use positive language, communicating with your spouse is really, really important, because then you can continue talking, even if it's a hard subject you're dealing with, because you're choosing to communicate positively. It's easy to continue talking about a difficult subject. But as soon as you throw in accusative language, as soon as you put me down, there's nothing else to talk about.
You know, it's very difficult, but if you can start what you want to say with I, like I felt neglected when such and such happened, or I felt like you weren't really listening to what I had to say. It's so much better than you don't listen to me, or you. So that's right. I mean, if you can couch it in the way that you're taking responsibility for your feelings, rather than taking your feelings and blaming them on the other person. But the other thing is, it's important, I think, for couples to have more seasoned couples near them that they could come and say, hey, this isn't working like we wanted it to work. Can you advise us and walk with us and pray with us? And it's just great if they can have some friends that would do that for them. Or they could have someone that's hosting a class do that for them. But I think a lot of people aren't prepared for marriage. You just think, we're going to get married and it's going to be like heaven all the time. Well, we all know better than that. And so I think just getting some guidance as well.
We spent so many years preparing for what we will kind of work we'll do. And usually we change our careers all the time. But you commit yourself to live with somebody for years, and there's no time invested in trying to prepare. We jump in.
And I have an answer to the socks. When we first got married.
I was going to tell that same story.
Tell us.
When we first got married, Larry was having some acid reflux issues, and he had some medicine in these really crinkled little papers. and they were all over the place. And I thought, okay, now I don't want to be a nag. How am I going to deal with this?
Yeah.
So I just collected them.
She's very creative.
And when I had enough, I put it in his pillow, in the pillowcase.
Okay.
And we put his head down. He said, "What is this?" And then we just laughed. And then from then on, they weren't laying around. So,
I learned to pick them up.
so sometimes,
let's use that for the socks. You think that would work as well?
put all the dirty socks on. I think it would work as well.
So Larry,
Don't try that at home.
somebody watching, the idea is be creative.
Yeah, the idea is to be creative and to laugh together.
I love about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, Pastor, I missed this at the beginning and I should apologize. How do you know each other? Do you all come from the same church?
Okay.
Let's do that first because people can see the chemistry here, but tell us, how do you know Larry?
Okay.
Yes.
I was a secondary school student living in Katalimwa, and these guys came as missionaries to live in Katalimwa Estates.
Yes.
So they invited us to play football on Sunday. I didn't really care about football, but in those days there was only one TV station, UTV, and it started at, I think at 6 and closed up at 10.
Yes.
So really nothing for young people. So football, I went to play football. I didn't like it very much. But then after a few weeks, they started doing a brief Bible study at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And then after a while, they said, we're going to start a Bible study on Tuesday. Do you want to, anybody who wants to come, come. Of course, the other thing was there was cookies and we're young people. So we went for the Bible study. And after about 6 months of being in that same Bible study on the Gospel of John, it just became difficult for me to say no to Christ. It was because now it wasn't just that somebody was talking to me, but now I knew. And so I came to faith, of course, discipled by them. In fact, what is really interesting is that 2 weeks after that, I got a ball, and I would go to a Tumpere primary school and play with the boys. And I had my Gideon's New Testament.
Yes.
And I'll share for about 10-15 minutes what I had learned in my own life. And so they became a part of my story for years. They've been part of my story for the years, for many years. Of course, they're part of also the people you learn from as you watch them do marriage. These guys are very different personality in many ways. And they are not... I was raised to not express any emotion publicly, and so you can sort of gloss over things. These guys would go after each other publicly, but they've never said anything that made you wonder that they don't like each other anymore. But they would fight it out, and they still do. But to never feel that this is an insecure relationship to people who can go after each other was really unique for me. That you can be open with your spouse and even share how you feel without, it's like on a building. When you build, there's a building and you take a brick somewhere at the top, chances are that house is going to stay.
Yes.
But if you take a brick and the foundation, that house is going down.
Yes.
And there are some people, when they're dealing with issues, they take bricks from the foundation. Like somebody told his wife when he was really upset, I wonder how I even ended up with you. Now, then tomorrow, when you're not feeling angry, she's thinking, I am a mistake for this man.
True.
So really to watch couples who can fight clean was one of the lessons I learned from them.
We've been married for 52 years. And in all of those years, we've had our spats. We've had disagreements, like Andrew said. We have learned to communicate well. We've not really ever spent a day just continuing to be angry, day after day. but it's not always easy. And he's become one of my sons. I have 2 sons in the U.S. Now I have one here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of my sons in Kenya. So, yeah, I have great feelings for Andrew, respect and love,
Yeah.
and we've been through a lot of things together over the years. Yeah.
And so, what's your? How do you know Andrew?
I was in
Were you there at the football game?
I
You
was.
were making the cookies.
I was, and making the cookies and
Lemonade.
Lemonade.
and lemonade, and sometimes I taught the Bible study,
Yeah.
and sometimes Larry taught it, and
Yes.
yeah.
So
So Andrew's a product of both of us investing in his life.
And you know, it really came at a very unique time in my life.
Yeah.
I was very reckless in my relationships with ladies, with girls. I was a young man, and when I began to really listen to the gospel, listen to scripture, it really began to speak in my life, and sort of God changed my value system, and my mother had 9 children, and 5 of them died of AIDS. I was the craziest of them all. If Christ hadn't come, invaded my space, I probably wouldn't be here.
Well, Christ used these guys. Thank you very much because of your obedience. Look at Pastor now. Thank you very much, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Now, communication. We talked about communication, and when communication breaks down, what happens? And it's been blamed for many marriages and divorce. Communication is very key. But when you're teaching premarital counseling, I know you talked about the positive, speaking positively. What other ways can you teach people? I really want to use Pastor Andrew's example of where you have a background of, not talking or not being that open. How do you help couples start small by talking about the small things and then graduating to the big things? I'll ask Sharon to start first.
I think one of the things that we have found very helpful is helping couples write down their expectations and to compare those expectations with one another. And often we'll have, and maybe this is different in Africa than it is in America, but we'll have, I'm going to have my own bank account and I'm going to have my own bank account. And I always tell them, well, if you do that, God says your pocket and your heart are connected. And they almost always come back and say, okay, we're going to have one bank account. We might have a little bit of separate just to be able to buy gifts without the other person knowing.
Yes.
And stuff like that. And one time I was working with a girl who had actually gone to Kenya to be part of a mission team that was a drama, and she met this Kenyan guy and fell in love with him. So when he came to visit in America, I said, hey, can I just have a bit of time with you? Let's do expectations. Yes. And he would say his, she would say hers, he would say his. She changed hers to his.
Always.
So every time, whatever he said, she would change hers to be the same as his. So then after he came back to America, I said, okay, you said before you changed your mind, you wanted to live in the city, you wanted to get a job, and you wanted to have X number of kids, I don't remember. But he said, I want to be a village pastor, I want you to stay home, and I want you to have a bunch of babies and work in the garden. I said, each time you changed to his, so is that the life you want to have? And so, anyhow, later I found out that that relationship ended. But there's a lot of times I think people come into marriages and they bring in their expectations, but it's not the same as the other person. And it's a little bit more safe to start communication there because you're not married yet.
You're not.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it can be, we talk about what are your expectations about your families? What are your expectations about your holidays? And so you're not surprised, here's a holiday. well, 20 relatives are coming in. Well, nobody told me that. But that's what we did every year.
Yes.
And so I think that's a nice place for people to start. And it needs to talk about their sexual relationship,
Yes.
Their relationship with the church, their relationship with money, all those key things.
Prayer.
Yeah, prayer, Bible study, who's
Church commitment.
yeah, who's going to lead out in some of those things. Children, how they're going to be raised, and that seems like a safe place for people to share, because they're just sharing their expectations, but they're also hearing from each other.
Yes.
And then they have that to think about.
Yeah.
He expects this. What do I think about that? She expects this. What does he think about that? And so I think it's a good, safe starting place to get them communicating.
Two things that trigger. One is just an example of what she's saying. I had a guy come from UK. I asked him to be at least here for some time, so we can talk before he weds a Ugandan lady. The guy was Ugandan, but lived in UK for most of his life. Wanted to marry a Ugandan lady who's lived here most of her life. As they started sharing their expectations, it was clear that the guy envisioned him and his wife really close family. It was clear that the lady had grown up paying school fees for her siblings, and all her family was wrapped around her life. And she didn't imagine that getting married meant completely cutting her family off. And as they shared the expectations, they shared the first one. The guy said he shared the first one, and then the second one, the guy said, "I have no desire of being that kind of a man, a husband." And then the guy shared his. The lady says, "I have no desire of being that kind of a wife." By the time we got to number 3, it was clear that these guys needed to go back and talk.
Yeah.
So they went back to talk, and they never came back. 2 months later, the ladies called and said, "Pastor, please forgive me, we didn't come back, but we just decided we probably going forward was not a good thing." Because sometimes people's dreams are completely far apart, and you want to get into something when there's some level of semblance of one. The second in to do with expectations. Several years ago, probably 15 years ago, I was going through this lesson on expectations. I asked them to write down their expectations. And the lady, I better not mention her name, the lady, her number one expectation was, of course, love, be committed to him as the only one. The next one was provision. The guy had parked a brand new car. The lady had parked a brand new car at the church.
Yes.
And the guy had parked an old ramshackle Mark II at the church compound. The lady already had a house with a fence, a wall around it, on the other side of town. And the guy had no
House.
plot to his name. And so I said, "I have known you for so many years," to the lady, "and I know you financially okay.
Yes.
Why would you need a man to take care of you?" And she said to me, she was quiet for a minute and said, "Pastor, if I lose my job, it is not a crisis. But if he loses his job, I expect him to treat it like a crisis." I was like, wow. So since from that time on, I started looking at ladies' expectations. And 9 out of 10, the Ugandan ladies, they expect a man to provide for their home. I don't know about the Americans. They expect the man to provide for his home. And we have a crisis in our day and time.
Yes.
Our Ugandan community has moved, sort of invested a lot in promoting the girl child. And you have a lot of ladies in powerful jobs.
Doing well.
And then guys go looking for them thinking, my future is sorted.
Yes.
I'm marrying somebody
Who will provide?
who will provide. And the girl is thinking
The same.
the same. And so they're in a home and there's a crisis. It's one of the new challenges of our community. So expectations are clear, are an important thing. The other, for many guys, if you ask them to write down the expectations, it's going to begin with respect and the next sex. If you really ask questions, you find they really want to start with sex and respect. And you look at the ladies' list, usually it's either at the bottom or it's not in the list at all.
Yes.
And so suddenly you clearly have to help them appreciate you both are coming into this marriage, and you need to think through how this plays together.
Yes. Yes.
Important.
Yes.
Then the respect issue is a big one as well. A lot of men being respected by their wives is such a big issue. And so I tell ladies, if you don't want this man, if you don't see this man as a leader of your home, please don't get married to him. Because part of his expectation is that he's going to be the leader of your home.
Yes. True. Pastor, do you have anything to add?
You know, the way in which a person communicates is also extremely important. When Sharon was talking about communicating through stuffing these things in my pillowcase, it was a creative way.
Yes.
We laughed a lot, and I got the message. But we really try to help people to think about specific issues that they might face, things that might make them angry. What would make you angry?
Yes.
And then how do you communicate that to the other person? Sharon used a good example of using, this made me feel like, instead of saying you all the time. Trying to figure out ways to communicate frustration, anger, unhappiness, whatever it is.
Yes.
And we'll all get there someday.
We do.
We do, we get there. There'll be days when you wake up and say, why did I ever do this?
Yes.
But, you know, that's a short-lived thought when you're really committed to the other person and seeking the best for the other person. So trying to develop good communication skills. And I think today we don't do that. I think not always the church does that. We're part of a new marriage initiative in Virginia, where we live, that I think the group here is Life Ministries. It's Campus Crusade for Christ. They have a branch of their ministry called Family Life, and they're doing a really special ministry for discipling marriage. You know, we talk about discipleship, and we disciple people on how to read their Bible, how to memorize verses, how to be part of a church, but we don't always disciple about how to be a good kingdom, godly marriage. And so we're part of that right now. That looks like it's got the great potential of changing the whole marriage scene in our state. We saw this happen in San Antonio, Texas, and the marriage rate dropped from 50% to below 30%.
Divorce rate.
I mean, the divorce rate.
Yeah.
The divorce rate dropped from over 50% to below 30% for the whole city. Not just in the church, but for the whole city. When the churches joined together and started really encouraging, getting groups together to be accountable to, you know, discipling marriage. And so, yeah, we're pretty excited about seeing what it's going to do in Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for Sharon. Do the communication of expectations end in courtship or just in premarital counseling? Even during the marriage, would you encourage them to keep that? Tell me.
Yes, we would encourage them to keep thinking through their expectations, because you can't think of everything and put it down on the list. There's going to be things that come up that you didn't expect. An illness.
Yes.
A loss of money. Just lots of things that can show up. And so, yeah, they just need to be thinking about that all the time. What kind of vacation they want to have when they have enough money to go someplace. Those kinds of things. The other thing about communication that Larry and I talk about is the nonverbal communication.
Tell me about it.
Well, the tone of your voice.
Okay.
Like, you can say, "Oh, I love you," or "I really love you."
Oh, I do.
It's two different things.
Same words.
It's very two different things.
Yes.
Or, and the tone of voice, or the look on the face.
Yes.
Even the way you move around as you're saying that. All those kinds of things are really important. So we want them to understand you're not just communicating when you speak, you're communicating with how you
don't speak.
How you don't speak, or what your voice sounds like when you speak, or what your eyes are doing when you're speaking.
Yes.
I mean, there's just a lot. There's a lot to that, and so that helps with communication as well. We are very complicated people, so there's a whole lot to be done with us to have a great marriage.
If a man and his wife are walking down the street and, they have professed their love and want to stay in it, but all the time, every one of those good-looking young ladies that walk by, his head turns and follows it. You haven't said anything.
You haven't.
But you've communicated a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Communication
Yes.
is timing.
Timing.
Yeah, we talked about time because that's an important thing. But once in a while, there are issues where you need to be sensitive about timing. Think about the story of Esther. The nation is in trouble.
Yes.
The uncle says, you have to say something. God has placed you in such a place such as this for a reason.
Yeah.
So what she does is she prays, asks people to pray. And then she prepares a meal for the king. And on that day, the king is happy. She enjoys the meal, but she doesn't say anything. She says, please, can you come back again? Can we do this tomorrow? And so the man says, yes. I imagine that the man that night wondered, what is Esther up to? Why all of a sudden am I getting this attention?
Yes.
So by the next day, by the time she's done with the next meal, the timing is right.
Yeah.
And clearly, the issue is sorted.
Yes.
And so they are in marriages, sometimes when you need to be asking for the right time to deal with an issue. Most issues can be dealt with immediately, and you don't want to keep many things overnight. But once in a while, you need that sensitivity to know when to deal with that issue.
Andrew, I have a friend that before she says anything to her husband that's a serious issue, she says, is this a good time to talk to you? And if he says, no, it's not a good time right now, can we set it up for tomorrow? And I think that's very helpful. He's a working man. He gets home from work. I mean, it's labor.
Yeah.
He gets home, and she has something she wants to talk to him about. And it's just not, he's not ready at that moment.
He's tired.
Yeah. And it could work vice versa, too.
Yes.
The man's been at work, and he comes home, and the wife, everything's gone wrong with the kids. And the house is a mess and everything. It's not a good time to say, what are you doing?
Yes.
It's
And I think another, when you are talking, when you are communicating something that you really feel, and emotions start to well up, Andrew starts speaking Luganda, and, when those emotions start going quickly, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to say, hey, we both know that our emotions are getting the best of us. Let's stop. But we're not going to not communicate with this.
Yes.
So you agree to stop, and you agree to set another time. We can get up in the morning when we have coffee together, or we can, after we get the kids to school, we can say more like that because we're retired, but for people who have to get to office or whatever, just to figure out a time when we can, after the emotions have calmed down.
And you've had time to think about it.
There's one more thing. One thing that I think the first couple that really thought about doing pre-marriage counseling, but one of the things they suggested was that there's a 10 and 10, so that a couple gets together every day, and each of them has 10 minutes to talk. So it's not where you're spilling all the awful stuff, but you're just trying to connect.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted.
Yeah, uninterrupted. And we found with us that the kids realized the importance of that, and they would stay out of the way. And so one person talks for 10 minutes just about how their day was, and how they felt about things that happened during that day. And the other person only interrupts for clarification. And then the other spouse does the same thing. So every day they're connecting on how their day was and how they feel about the things that were happening that day. And that keeps them on track with each other. Because, before you're married, you just can't think of anything but to talk to each other all the time. You get married, and then after a while, it's like, when's the last time we had something to say to each other? So we were working with a couple that, they were just the opposite. Their thoughts about marriage and everything was just the opposite of what we thought. And we felt like we were settling their arguments more than we were doing pre-marriage counseling with them. But anyhow, they got married, and years and years later, when he was on staff at a church, they found his email, and they wrote him. They'd probably been married about 9 or 10 years, and they say, "We had the best marriage ever." We wouldn't have given them 6 months because they were always screaming at each other. We have the best marriage ever because every day we do 10 and 10 together. And we stay connected.
Yes.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful. So we're about to go for a break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about finances. We want to know what your take is on what your take on finances is. What would you encourage people to do? What have you seen that has worked? What hasn't worked? So we're going to take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay connected to Google Day TV. We're going to take a short break, but when we do come back, we're going to ask the phone lines to be opened, and you can call in and ask a question about a thriving godly marriage, or you may have a question about any topic and you need an answer from a pastor. This is going to be an opportunity. Let's take a break. God bless you.
Wayagala ebyuma ebirungi ebyogera basita pasiteri atunda nange ngoma ne gita zonna basita pasiteri amplifier n'emizindalo basita pasiteri ebitala bya siteji ebyebika byonna basita pasiteri ebyuma bya events tubirina byonna basita pasiteri awutudo wa screen tupangisa basita pasiteri kukizimbe kya Newmark William Street basita pasiteri kati nogendayo musajja mwesigwa kituufu endo gye gisoboka ekibanja mpola akikwata wagula ebyekkanisa jangu ewa pasita pasiteri
tusangibwa ku kizimbe kya Newmark ku William Street ku ground floor room number N31 opposite DFCU Bank. Esimu noti 782 00 84 ne noti 752 00 84 wana wokka we tusangibwa.
Wake up, put on your strength, and shake it off. Makerere Full Gospel Church
Youth Ministry presents the Awaken Camp 2026 at African Village Hotel, Mukono, from 2nd to 7th of January. Theme Isaiah 52 verses 1 and 2 at only 180k. Mitwaro 18 joka. Join us for a week packed with the word, prayer, fellowship, praise and worship. Not forgetting streaming, games, and lots of fun. Bionera kumitwalo 18 joka. For payment and installment, visit the youth desk. The Awaken Camp 2026. Powered by Emirates Fire Engineering Company Limited and Google Day TV. Do you have questions about your faith? About God's plan for you? About how to live a life of purpose and meaning? From the basics of Christianity to the toughest questions of our time, we will tackle it all. No question is too big or too small. So, what is on your mind? Send us your questions and we will do our best to provide answers that are both biblical and relevant to your life.
Just to answer your question, yes. As a parent, whether I'm a pastor, whether I am the president of this nation, whether you are the member of parliament, you cannot abdicate your responsibility, your role as a father figure, as a mother figure in the life of your child.
Don't miss this program, Ask the Pastor, every Tuesday, 8 p.m.
Life is a race, not against others, but for a purpose greater than yourself. Every step you take matters. Every decision you make can change the course of someone else's journey. At Makere Full Gospel Church, we are running a race too. A race to purchase land next to the church compound so as to expand our parking space and build more infrastructure for God's work. With your purchase of Run Your Race book, authored by our very own Pastor Fred Wantanti, for just 30,000 Ugandan shillings, you're not just buying a book, you're joining the race. All proceeds from the book sale will go toward purchasing the land. Together, we can build a legacy that will last for generations. Buy your copy today and let's run the race together.
Tosubwa ku Google Day TV.
Omulabi wa Google TV okuzimba ekizimbe nekiggwa bulungi nekiggumira kiva mu busobozi. Yadde nga ssente weekuba egonzaawo naye bingi by'oteekeddwa okumanya okuzimba.
So omuntu ayogera ku ttaka ebanga ogenze nga mu kkooti basobola otegeeza ebiri wansi mu ttaka, basobola otegeeza ettaka lino omulimi kwalimira, basobola otegeeza ebiri ku ttaka ne kaspeesi kano ke baba basobola okukuwa okukozesa ovudde ku ttaka ng'ekizimbe kyo wekisobola okukoma.
Ebyo byonna ogenda bisanga mu programu Zimba Naffe nga tuleeta abakugu okutuyigiriza n'okutulungamya.
Senga kkooti eragira nti nno ettaka wagula mpewo, ebiririko waggulu, wakati ne wansi ennyo bibeera bya nannyini ettaka oyo kkooti bwegambye nti ye mutuufu.
nga bwe tugenda mu bibuga ebirala bye twegoma nti bali bannange bo balina urban parks, bo balina abantu bagenda ne bawummulira. Singa weebuuza tuba tugenda kukola enkulaakulana ng'ejja mu plans entuufu ate ng'egenda kuleeta enkulaakulana ennungi egasa omulembe guno ate n'omulembe ogunaddako.
Ebyo byonna ogenda bisanga mu programu Zimba Naffe buli Lwakutaano ssaawa 3 ez'ekiro. Nange Ivan Keys Kajimu temusubwa.
Tosubwa ku Google Day TV. Tosubwa ku Google Day TV.
Mbalamusizza nnyo mu linnya lya Yesu Kristo omwana Katonda omulamu. Manya gange Ibone Musoko okuva e Naruvule United Christian Center. Mukama yantuma okulabula ekkanisa okulabula omulembe guno nti ebiseera bye ebyokudda bituuse naye ekkanisa si neeteefuteefu kati tujjanga kuba wano buli lwakuna essaawa 2 okutuuka essaawa 3 ez'ekiro mu kulabula mu kuyigiriza mu kusomesa ne mu kutereeza. Puroguramu yaffe eyitibwa Adram Special ejjanga kuba buli ssaawa 2 okutuuka ssaawa 3 buli lwakuna. Mukama abawo omukisa Bone Musoke ye muddu wammwe okuva e Naluvule United Christian Center.
Tosubwa ku Google TV.
Abaagalwa abalungi, erinnya lya Mukama waffe Yesu Kristo lyebazibwe nnyo. Mbalamusizzaako. Amannya gange nze Kasozi Robert Cephas. Mbanjulira programu ennungi mwogenda okuyita okusisinkana Kristo, okwate ku bisuubizo, osumululwe, owangule eyitibwa You Can Be Delivered. Ngekutusibwako obuweereza obwa Raising David's Tabernacle Ministries wano ku Google TV. Buli lwa Sande okutandika essaawa 5 ez'ekiro. N'olwokusatu okutandika essaawa 3 ez'akawungeezi tugendanga kubeera wamu. Oludde mu bulwadde, olinayo ebintu byonna ebikutawaanya wadde nga walokoka. Olinayo ebintu ebyo nga obisabidde naye nga bigaanyi. Oba nsonga ya birooto, ng'ebirooto bikufuukidde ebirooto tobitegeera, ogezezzaako eno n'eno. Programu eno egenda kubeeramu essuubi, ekyokuddamu, okuwangula, okubotola, mu maka, mirimu n'ebirala bingi. Kale nkusaba onneegatteko wano ku Google TV akaseera ako kagenda kuba kakusumululwa. Nkulinze, Mukama akutwere omukisa. Tosubwa programu eno.
Coming. We are having a very interesting topic and we want you guys to be in. One of the questions you're going to ask is, how do you find a husband? How do you find a wife? How do you find somebody you're going to be tied to for the rest of your life? And it's important. So the person asking is asking for everybody else but for himself as well. I'll let the pastors answer that later. But let's first do the finances. How do you handle finances in a marriage? And we're talking about a kingdom marriage. What's the ideal? I know there are very many ways, but what would your advice be to somebody who's watching today? Pastor Jerry.
One of the things
Larry.
that I think should be part of every marriage is that you don't keep any secrets from each other. And so when it comes to finance, we always tell folks that we're doing pre-marriage counseling with that if you have your account, and you're making some kind of agreements to pay something, but you're really keeping secrets from each other. So when you have joint accounts and you share money together, all of my money is her money. All of her money is my money. That's not very much for either one of us, but still, we've just always done a joint bank account, and we pay for everything out of that joint bank account. We don't have to. And the other thing is, when we come to making large purchases, we always have agreed that we've got to sit down and discuss it. You know, sometimes in Kampala, there are people that just come up to you on the street and say, can I borrow 5,000 shillings or can I borrow whatever it is? And we agreed that since our money was originally in dollars in the U.S., we could have the freedom with each other to help other people out and give up to maybe $25 or $30 worth. But if there was a request for more than that, then we had to sit down and talk about it together. And sometimes we said yes, and sometimes we said no. It depended on our financial situation at the time, and probably some of what we thought that person asking was really going to do with that money.
And I think also we got to the place where we realized we don't want to lend money. If somebody needs money, we'll give it to them, because money has this amazing way of ruining friendships. And so if somebody really is in need and we either had discussed it or we stayed within the limit we had discussed ahead of time, then instead of lending it, it was better to just say, here, this is yours. You don't owe me anything back. And then that friendship keeps stays solid. Because you can't do that every week with the same person.
Yeah.
But it's just, you have to be very careful with your relationships when it comes to money, even outside your marriage.
Yeah. A couple of principles for money in marriage. The first one is unity.
Okay.
That it's our money. Edange, daife, if you're going to do so. Yes. So edange, so see edange dange. It's our money. Yes. It's a key principle, because then it guides how you think through money. But I think the other thing that is key, a key principle that some marriages are struggling with, is the principle of work. That husband and wife are committed to work, whether one of them works in the home, but that somebody doesn't just wake up to sleep. Because you cannot grow your finances by just sitting. There are some marriages that are struggling because one of them is not committed to work. It's just a principle of finances. The third is planning, is that we take time to think through our finances. Because if we don't think through our finances, we will not focus on the priorities of the home. And there are not enough people who take the time to say, okay, this is how much money we're going to get this month. How are we going to spend it?
Yes.
So having a budget for your finances on a regular basis, especially in the earlier years of your marriage. My wife and I used to do a regular budget. We sort of have a general trend in our marriage, in our life, that even if we didn't budget, there's a budget is sort of in our heads. So, but really in the earlier years of your marriage, to really be deliberate to think through your finances is important. And then of course saving. Whether you're earning a lot of money or very little money, that you are committed together to saving is critical for marriage, because you find many people who are earning a lot of good money in their young years, and they are now old and they have nothing because they blew up all their money in their young years. And particularly in the culture where there's a lot of pressure to contribute to everything. And then looking for ways of investing the savings, even if it's as simple as a fixed deposit, but that your money is making money. Think through, how can our money grow? Because you will need your money to grow. And there are ways, in many ways to think about that. And then lastly, giving. Maybe not lastly, but giving. And giving has three components, in my opinion. You have tithes and offerings. When you're part of a church, a local church, you want to give your tithes and your offerings on a regular basis. And then you want to give to your immediate family, 1 Timothy 5:8. If you do not take care of your family, you're worse than an unbeliever. So that you're giving to your immediate family. And then third, others. Now, what I really like to point out to people is that if you don't plan your finances, you don't follow that priority. The priority is God, immediate family, and then others. If you don't plan your finances, you give according to pressure. and the people who put pressure on you for enough
Others.
are others. So it is instead of 1, 2, 3, it is 1, 2, 3. It's a reverse order.
Yes.
So it's important to think through your finances and plan them, because then when somebody comes to you and says, can you give me so much money? Then you have thought through where your money is going, and you can honestly say, I can't help you, or I can only help you with this much.
Yes.
Because in your mind, you already have a plan.
Yes.
Right.
And you're not just, if you have 1 million shillings and somebody wants 50,000 shillings, and you haven't thought through how the rest is going to be spent, it looks like you're being mean for not giving him anything.
Yes.
But if you thought through your rent and your food and your school fees and all of these things, you may find that actually you only have 50,000 shillings to give away, but you also know Jane also asked you for money. And so you know you can't give this guy 50,000.
All of it.
Yes. So really think with your finances is important. And lastly, the whole idea of a kingdom agenda, it's as the theme of it. There are some things we don't do with our money because we're believers. You know, during COVID, one of the most lucrative businesses in our city during COVID was beer, alcohol.
Yes.
It sold so much but some of us knew that this is a place to get money, but I didn't want to participate in getting people drunk in our city because they're just sitting at home doing nothing.
Yes.
And so that's not me. It doesn't match my kingdom agenda.
Yes.
So thinking about how my resources are linked to the kingdom agenda is important.
That's important. So there's a question here, Musumba, how about housewives? On what you're talking about, how can they take work seriously if they're just at home and they don't have work?
Work at home is work.
Yeah, let me.
I agree.
Oh, Sharon.
Yeah, one thing my mom said to me, she said, the man could be bringing in money through the front door, and the woman could take it out the back door, spoon by spoon, and get rid of more of it than he brought in the front door. And so I think the woman managing money is really important, that she helps in the management of the money, because then she might say, okay, I'm not going to spend money on this particular thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I could either, if she knows how to sew, maybe I'll make it instead. Sometimes baking your own bread, saves money. Cooking meals at home rather than going out to eat saves money. And so I think there's a lot of ways that the woman is keeping the money in the home to be used for the kinds of things Andrew's talking about, because she's using her skills, her ability to reduce what a lot of things cost, and so that the family can just enjoy being home and doing some things together that don't cost a lot of money.
And that the man respects her contribution, because there are many ladies who wake up and they slave the whole day, and because the guy has gone out and brought real cash, they may not pay attention to the fact that when I left this home, my wife woke up and cleaned the house and washed the dishes and washed the clothes and organized the home and cooked the food that I'm enjoying. It's very easy for the guy who works out to not recognize that she too is contributing to the home. Yeah.
Larry, did you have something to say?
I think we should never, ever disrespect or disregard a woman for being a housewife, a mother. It's really God's plan to be a kingdom family. I'm not opposed to women working. I'm not opposed to young ladies getting education and wanting to do something with it. But I don't think anybody should ever feel badly that they spend most of their time, for 18 or 20 years raising children, for example, helping to raise, I hope a man gets involved, but a woman does a lot of raising children. That's not something to to look down on. That is an important aspect of God's design for family. And so I would hope that we wouldn't see. My mother never worked outside the home. She was always there when I came home from school, when my sisters came home from school. She was there to greet us, with a snack usually. And then my dad would come in at about 5:15 or 5:30 every day from work. We would sit down to a meal immediately. That was just the way life was. And I never knew her to have a job of her own outside of our family. And we had a great family, a really great family, yeah.
But she made each of us a quilt by hand, and each of our kids a quilt. That's hard work.
Yeah.
And so, there's just so much that a woman can do in the home in terms of how she raises the kids, how she disciplines the kids, and then how she prepares for her husband when he's coming home. All of that, there's just a lot she can do. And a lot of that saves money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This question was actually meant for you. Intimacy and relationships. How can couples nurture emotional intimacy and connections in their relationships?
Well, I think anybody that heard what I said about the 10 and 10s, I think that's really important, that you make sure you take time every day over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, just something very relaxed, where you're really listening to each other and how that person's doing. I also think, intimacy is happens when you really share what's going on inside your life. And so not keeping anything from the other person. If you feel like, if somebody felt like that they just, we're not doing well in some of the things they wanted to accomplish, for the other spouse to hear that and maybe even make suggestions for that to do it. But also, it's making sure that you have that time set aside where there's no kids, there's no other people, where it's just the two of you together. And that includes sexual intimacy, and it includes that kind of talking. You love somebody more when you pull out more of yourself to them. I remember we had a 3-week honeymoon. We drove from Columbus, Ohio, went all the way out west, went up the coast. But we had talked a lot before we were married. But once we were married, the way we talked then, in those 3 weeks, had so much deeper than even the way we were talking before we got married. And so that just takes having some time for you all to be together. And I think that also happens when you pray together. It develops some intimacy, hearing the husband hearing the wife pray, the wife hearing the husband pray for her. I also in Bible study together and just sharing some things. Anything you can do that is just the two of you meshing together more and more and more, the greater the intimacy is. And we actually have told couples that were struggling with that, especially sexual intimacy, that they should plan when they were going to have sexual intimacy. And the benefit of that is you get up on that morning and then you have this expectation. So actually it can make that intimacy even better because you looked forward to it all day long. And so...
And you do something with the kids.
You send it to their grandma.
Yeah, the kids aren't there. And we've said, sometimes sex might be like going through a drive-through. You're just getting a hamburger and it's not going to take you a very long time. But you also have to make sure you give to this time to intimacy where it's more like a long steak dinner. And you're really enjoying each other physically. Yes.
5-course meal.
5-course meal.
Yes.
I was going to say something else, yes. Just for to add. One of the challenges of our time for some families is 2 cars.
Okay.
Of course, there's people who have one car and they are in the same car and everybody is looking out this way. But a car is one of the places where you can talk. There have been times when I've left my car at the church and gone to my wife's office on the border, and then we can drive back together through the traffic. And that's really 40 minutes. Sometimes leaving downtown to come to church can take you 40 minutes in the evening traffic. So that's time you will not get at home, because you get home and there's this and there's that. And so finding those opportunities to create time. In our earlier years of marriage, we agreed 2 days. On Wednesday, we would always left work at the earliest opportunity. And if we could work it out to leave earlier, we would. And then on Saturday, we never left home until 10. Now, we no longer follow that rule. But because we created this sort of rhythm in our life, we're always finding time. Yeah.
Larry?
I think that one of the things that happened to us here, we're both very extroverted people. And we love more and more people around us. We lived in a house in Muyanga, and the door was always open. People
Revolving door.
always going. In fact, we had other missionaries come to visit us and say, "How do you have so many people here?" But and I was teaching in McCary, and we were working with students and leading Bible studies, doing all these things, and students figured out that the taxi stopped right in front of our house on Muyanga. So they would get the taxi, they'd come to Muyanga and come and see us. And many times that would be that they would spend the night, which was great. We loved it, and some of our best times of discipleship. But our family and the 2 of us were neglected a bit when we had that, 6 or 7 days out of the week, and sometimes 4 or 5 days out of the week. So we started just saying to students, we love you, we want you to come to our house, we want to entertain you, we want to listen to you, but Thursday nights are family night. So just give us that. And it was amazing that they respected that. They said, that makes sense. And many of them that we know still are doing it themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So there's a question here, and I think this one was for you, Pastor. Extended family interference is common to many communities. How can couples set healthy boundaries while remaining respectful? Maybe saying Thursday night is family night. How can you help advise somebody who's struggling with extended families?
Part of it is awareness, knowing the 2 of you, knowing it is important for you to protect your marriage, your relationship. It's just because when you know, then you're looking for solutions. My family, we had one of our families suddenly needing to join our home, and so 2 years of marriage, and one of our families ended up in our home. And so our whole space was invaded.
Yes.
But we kept one place private. Our bedroom was that private space.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a fairly big bedroom, so that was nice. So once we got into our bedroom, nobody was allowed to interfere with that space. So that even when there was so much chaos around, as soon as you entered the bedroom, that was your protected space. Yeah. So figuring out how to, once you know that this is important, figuring out how to create that time and space is important. Sometimes it's a day, family day, as they've said. Sometimes it's setting aside the regular times when you go out of that space a day out with your wife can be very, very, very helpful, because then you're just the two of you talking. But also sometimes extracting your children from the bigger space is also important, because some kids grow up without really knowing their father or their mother because they've been part of this crowd. So creating that time for them is also important.
This is for you, Pastor Larry. Infidelity is devastating. How should a couple begin a long process of rebuilding trust when betrayal has occurred?
That's a really, really good question. That's a hard one. We've dealt with couples who have gone through one or the other couple having cheated and been sexually outside the marriage. And we have often challenged them to come to an agreement to separate for a limited period, not forever, for a limited period, but to keep communicating and talking. Going back to like John wrote in the Revelation of the church at Ephesus, you're doing all these great things, but you've lost your first love. And so remembering the things that you did at the beginning and why, talk about why you fell in love, why you got married in the first place. What was there that attracted you to that other person? And just committed to pray together and pray for each other. We've challenged couples to many times to just take time each day and pray for that other person. You may be mad at that person, but get down on your knees and pray for that person every day. You know, you don't have to pray that they'll come back. You don't have to pray anything but that God will work in their lives and change their hearts. And then I think there's another thing that we've talked about a lot. We've got to learn, and we don't always learn this very well, we've got to learn how to forgive. And you've got to decide, an individual has to decide, what do I need to be able to forgive this other person? You know, some people need that other person to get
Tosubwa Gugudde TV.
Mbalamusizza nnyo mu linnya lya Yesu Kristo omwana Katonda omulamu. Manya gange Ibone Musoko okuva Naluvule United Christian Center. Mukama yantuma okulabula ekkanisa, okulabula omulembe guno nti ebiseera bye by'okudda bituuse n'ekkanisa sinneeteefuteefu. Kati tujjanga kuba wano buli lwakuna essaawa 2 okutuuka essaawa 3 ez'ekiro mu kulabula, mu kuyigiriza, mu kusomesa ne mu kutereeza. Puroguramu yaffe eyitibwa Adram Special ejjanga kuba buli ssaawa 2 okutuuka ssaawa 3 buli lwakuna. Mukama abawo omukisa Bone Musoke ye muddu wammwe okuva Naluvule United Christian Center.
Tosubwa Gugudde TV.
Omulabi wa Gugudde TV okuzimba ekizimbe nekiggwa bulungi nekiggumira kiva mu busobozi. Yadde nga ssente weekuba egonzaawo naye bingi by'oteekeddwa okumanya okuzimba.
So omuntu wayogera ku ttaka ebanga ogenze nga mu kkooti basobola otegeeza ebiri wansi mu ttaka, basobola otegeeza ettaka lino omulimi kwalimira, basobola otegeeza ebiri ku ttaka ne kaspeesi kano ke baba basobola okukuwa okukozesa ovudde ku ttaka ng'ekizimbe kyo wekisobola okukola.
n'akoma. Ebyo byonna ogenda bisanga mu program Zimba Naffe nga tuleeta abakugu okutuyigiriza n'okutulungamya.
Senga kooti eragira nti nno ettaka wagula mpewo ebiririko waggulu wakati ne wansi ennyo bibeera bya nannyini ettaka oyo kooti bwegambye nti ye mutuufu.
nga bwe tugenda mu bibuga ebirala bye twegoma nti bali bannange bo balina urban parks bo balina abantu bagenda ne bawummulira. Singa weebuuza tuba tugenda kukola enkulaakulana ng'ejja mu plans entuufu ate ng'egenda kuleeta enkulaakulana ennungi egasa omulembe guno ate n'omulembe ogunaddako.
Ebyo byonna ogenda bisanga mu program Zimba Naffe buli Lwakutaano ssaawa 3 ez'ekiro nange Ivan Keys Kajimu temusubwa.
Tosubwa ku Google TV.
Sorry for that, but before we go to a short break, Pastor was trying to explain that sometimes you have to learn the hard lesson of forgiving. So let's speak from there, Pastor.
Yeah, I think that learning to forgive, we learn how to yell at each other. We learn how to communicate intimacy, but we don't really ever think about what does it take for me to forgive somebody, and especially our spouse. We've had couples come in and had infidelity, and she would say, well, we might as well go ahead and divorce. I can never forgive him. And I think that's not really very godly to say that. Now, I know infidelity is a hard thing. I understand it. But learning how to forgive and then rebuild the blocks of the foundation of your marriage. Yeah, and so I think an important thing is learning how to forgive.
One thing I would add to that is I think the spouse that was faithful also should take the time, and not by the other spouse telling that one they should, to say, was there something that I did? Was I withholding myself from this person, or was I always too busy to think about his needs? And there might end up being mutual apology and mutual. I mean, sometimes it's just one person, that does it. But I think it's good for the other person to look at did I contribute to this at all? And to stop and think about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the other is really, I find that when there's been unfaithfulness, there's a place people need some support outside of them. And really that's the beauty of church fellowship, is to find that brother and that sister who can walk with you. You usually need to find that before. Every marriage needs to surround itself with some healthy marriages, 1 or 2 healthy marriages, because then you have a place to go to when something is not working right.
Yes.
That's an important thing, because sometimes people are on their own and they don't have anybody who can listen to them. And then if you happen to be that one person who has been entrusted with other people's challenges, you need to know that you have responsibility to keep that, to not be throwing people's stories out there.
Yes.
I mean, pastoral ministry, you get to know all sorts of people's junk, but it stays with you. And people, believers need to appreciate that one of our responsibilities is to encourage one another, and you cannot be one of us who is careless with other people's information.
So now let's answer the other question. How do you find a good husband? How do you find a good wife?
But before you answer that question, ask that question,
Yes.
I think it's important for people to appreciate how do you not get into unfaithfulness.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
Part of it is a decision you have to make. To appreciate that this is a person I chose. All those out there may be nice, but they're not mine. I've told many ladies who have, come after me that, really, I think you're a beautiful woman. I even like who you are, but you're not mine. It's just for people to appreciate, once you've chosen, the rest may look good, but they're not yours.
Yes.
2 is paying attention to what's going on in your mind. And that's where regular study of scripture, regular time of talking to God, talking to God, even when you're going through feelings for another person, to talk to God about it, to not just let that go stuck in the back of your mind. Sometimes having that one individual in your life. For me, there are about 2 different believers, men who are faithful, who have walked with the Lord. When I'm going through something that I think my mind is really distracted over something, that's going through some temptation in my life, that I go to and say, please pray with me. I think just making sure that you pay attention to what's going on in your mind.
I think also to avoid emotional attachment. I mean, that could happen in the workplace. 2 people just start talking, and then they talk more and more and more, and there's no intention of anything beyond that, but you can let your emotions go too far. And so just being cautious about what is going on with me while I'm having this, the development of this friendship. Yeah.
We worked with we ministered to and with university students for 25 years at least. And the young girls, 20 years old, 22, a lot of them are beautiful. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Sharon and I found is that she had to be present in my life and what we were doing pretty much at all times. So we had our student center down in Wandagea. She was there when the kids were in school, almost as much as I was. If a young lady came to my office on campus and wanted to talk about something, that was always a red flag to me. And I'd say, there's somebody I want you to talk to. And I would introduce them to Sharon. And there were a lot of the young ladies that we ministered with that came to know the Lord because they got to know Sharon. And whenever we were at church, we were together. When we were anywhere, in ministry, we were always together. And that was really important. They saw that there was something good and strong in our marriage. And
but also there are times when the ladies you want them to know that my wife is important to me. Because sometimes in public space, they want to compete with her. And you want them to know, no, you are not the first one. You are my friend, but this is where my commitment is. Yeah.
Right.
So how do we find the right husband? Somebody is dying to know. Someone out there is dying to know.
Do you want to start? No, I will. I think.
Go ahead.
I think that there's a real decision we have to make about the kind of person we're looking for.
Okay.
And if that person is going to have strong Christian, godly-based beliefs like I do, then we've got to fish in the pond where they are.
Okay, I like that.
Which means you got to be part of the church.
Yes.
The church is God's family. And it's where He wants us to be. Well, I am really, it's really important to me, the local church. Whether it's one denomination or another, the local church is extremely important to me, and that's where you go to begin. You have Bible studies together with that age group. You have older people who are willing to invest in you and say, hey, Andrew, you know, there's a young lady hanging around the student center. You need to get to know her. And I think that carries over all the way to the marriage. Young people want to have weddings off somewhere that's romantic, in a park or by the lake or some other place, you know. And I don't mind if they go and have a reception and do things there. Get married in the church, because the church is where the people that know you, that you're accountable to. And one of the things that in every ceremony that I do is I ask the congregation, are you willing to pray for this couple? Are you willing to hold them accountable and teach them? And of course, the response is always, we will. But I think that's really important. You make a commitment, and so you go to the place where the kind of girl or the kind of man that you're looking for lives and works. You don't go to the local bar or to a dance club expecting to find a godly spouse.
Yeah. So now I'm getting to that time as we're wrapping up. Is there something that you left home and you wanted to share with the people watching, or something that your church has been working with? I'll let you go last, but I'll let you go first, and he will wind up.
Okay.
Go ahead. Something that's not on the topic, maybe.
That's not on the topic.
It could be concluding the topic. It's up to you. Anything.
Well, Larry and I began looking at the different levels of marriages in our church, and seeing that how much the people from just getting married to 3 years need someone to be investing in them. Yeah, it's great for people who've been married longer, but if that group gets the kind of foundation that they need, it's going to give them a lifetime of a good marriage. And so we're really looking at that and how we can get that going in our church. Those couples are busy. They've got kids that are, some of them have kids that are involved in a lot of things, and so getting them aside is really important, an important thing to do. We absolutely love seeing couples have a great marriage. It's a delight to us. And I would just say that people that are looking to find the right spouse, I agree with Larry on that. And I would say that before, if you're a Christian and you want to marry another believer, get involved in some ministry together, where you're working side by side before you decide that you're even going to get engaged. Because when you see that person engaged with other people, whether it's working in slums or it's, you know, painting a room in your church, or it doesn't matter what it is, it's just that doing ministry together lets you see what the other person is like, their humility, their ability to take directions and do what they were asked to do, all those kinds of things, and that they love serving. And so I would say that's a big deal.
Thank you.
Because marriage is a lot of serving.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you do a lot of serving.
Larry, your last words?
I think that one of the things I really want to see happen with me, you know, I'm a little too old to climb mountains and swim the ocean. You know, I had great ideas when I was 30 years old of what I could do, but I can't do those anymore. My knees and my hips and all my other parts don't function like they used to. But I've got a lot to give in terms of 52 years of marriage. I've got a lot to give in terms of the experience that we've had. And one of the things I really want to see happen is that I want to get some of these young men together and just start discipling them on their marriages to help them to understand. And I might not do that by myself. I might bring other older men in. But as John talks about the older men teaching the younger men, I think that's really important, and sometimes we miss that in church. And so I'd like to be a part of doing that.
Yeah.
I can still do that and sit down.
Well, thank you, Pastor.
My wife and I, from time to time, of course, the church does have different groups, has divided the church into different groups, and then we do general group things together. The younger couples, the middle sort of life couples, and the older couples do things in their different groups, and also we do things together. That's a part of the life of a church. My wife and I do, on a regular basis, have a small group every week in our home, and spend 2 hours and eat food together and talk. And there have been couples who've told us, if I didn't come into this group, I don't think I'd still be married. So I think the believers in the church need to take the responsibility to sort of the older brother hold the younger brother. I think we do have a responsibility in the church of Christ to be our brother's keeper. And marriages need the support of others in an open forum, because again, sometimes couples groups end up with all sorts of challenges in the public space. But the other thing is just for us to remember, we made vows. The vows have most vows have at least six principles. One, that this is an exclusive commitment. I take you. And so to acknowledge that I've made a specific commitment to an individual. And everybody else comes second or third, including my parents. That the most critical person in my life is this one, because I've made specific commitments to that person. The second is that this was an unconditional commitment. So we say for richer, for poor, in sickness and health. In my younger years, I didn't want to make negative statements. So I asked them to allow me to write my vows, and I said, under all circumstances, the fact that this is an unconditional commitment. And third, that it's a commitment to live together, to live with you. Because one of the challenges we have in our day is that you have these couples, one works in Kampala, the other one works in Kabale. They meet once a week, sometimes twice a month. Then you have now a group of people going to the Arab world, and the guy comes 1 month a year.
Yes.
And no wonder we do have challenges in marriages. The guy is here, is married, but he's not here.
Yes.
Who knows what this one is doing with the other? And so the commitment to live together. And then next, it's a commitment to a permanent relationship. When you have in your mind an open door, marriage will take you through some seasons. If the door is open, you will want to use it. But if in your head that door is closed, then you know this is a season for sorting what we're going through. It is not a season for looking how to get out. And so couples have to put in their heads, I made a permanent commitment. And then maybe the last one is that this is a covenant. I made a covenant. I invoked the name of God. So help me God. I invoke the name of God in this commitment. So it's really not a casual commitment. I have accountability to God for it.
Well, my parting words are, I want to thank you all for coming. Thank you. This was the very first time on Kukude TV, guys. I really appreciate it. Come again. I thank you, Pastor Andrew, for calling and bringing them. Now, as we end, we want to say, is marriage doable? Is a Christian, godly, kingdom marriage doable? And when you have guests with 52 years of marriage sitting here and saying, is it doable?
It's doable.
They said it's doable. It's even doable for you. But the things that they've been talking about, please, please, please read up on it. Join a church. For you who are single, join a church, join a ministry, serve together, and learn before you even get engaged. For you who are married, find older, elderly, most experienced couples in your church that will hold your hand and will guide you and advise you in those times, good and bad times. Pray for your spouse. And also learn, this is new for me, learn how to communicate when you're angry. Learn how to communicate when you're angry. You can pause when you feel you're going to take the brick off the foundation. Go off, breathe, and come back to it. Also, learn to ask your spouse, is this a good time to talk to you? If they say no, please keep it for when it's possible. But in case you have any questions, Jesus is the answer. God bless you.
Amen.
I think you know that.
Buli omu munsi yanoonya mwagala